conference, something inherently given to us. And we don't have to work for it or strive for it or beg for it. It intrinsically belongs to us. But this conference is a gift that's been entrusted to us, calling us to the embodiment, the stewardship, and the extension of the weight of its meaning. Wealth is not merely that which is held in the hand, but it's what's held in the mind. Wealth, in whatever form it takes, is not merely the accumulation of possessions, but it's the embodiment of the state of one's being. It's the posture of the mind, the expansiveness of the perception, and the alignment with abundance that transcends material ownership. The true wealth is not measured by what one holds in his hand, but by the consciousness from which one operates. This consciousness allows the ability to generate, to sustain, and to distribute resources effortlessly, knowing that provision is an extension of one's internal state, not a product of external acquisition. Altars are not merely an act of material construction, but they are in fact a point of spiritual activation. Poverty is a mental condition that manifests a physical position. It's not merely a condition of material lack, but the manifestation of a deeper rejection of abundance, both in a natural and a divine sense, because it arises when the human mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, based on its grooming or its bent, dismisses the reality of inherent provision and embraces scarcity as an inevitable state. Rather than operating from a place of divine sufficiency, it clings to striving, laboring under self-imposed limitations, and justifying the struggle as the only path to sustenance. In doing this, it forfeits an effortless flow of provision that comes from alignment with divine inheritance and the true nature of abundance. Divine inheritance and the true nature of abundance. Well, good morning, everybody. Doing something this morning. I promise you, technical difficulties all morning, but we are here, back to Torah, back to the future. It's exciting to be here with you as always. Just ready to step into or dive into this conversation, this revelation, this impartation this morning. And I have my brother with me, Apostle Ace. He's with me this morning, and I'm excited to have him here. Come on in the room, brother.
Well, shalom and galactic glories grand, holy shalom and galactic glories grand rising to you, sister, and to all those in that's on the platform. Yes, it's a plump, pleasing pleasure being here this morning, and I do understand a lot of interference, but listen, we persevere, we overcome, and we work right through it. Though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear nothing. Yes.
No, we're going to keep that moving. That's what we do. I'm excited this morning. I love the direction the Father is taking us in this season, and it is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. We're going to talk about inherited altars, and I don't know if you heard some of what I was sharing at the beginning, and maybe I shared too much at the beginning, but this morning, as I was excited that it's important for me to share those things at the opening. Now, that's not the opening, but those are things that I shared at the opening because there are things that I want you to go back over and listen to and just really kind of open or expand for yourself to hear those things again and allow the Holy Spirit to expand the revelation of that inside of you. Because I believe, brother, that the Father is really calling the sons to this place of expansion in this hour. And it's going to be based on the altars that we have inherited. It's going to be based how our life The direction of our life, how our life comes look, all of that is based on our relationship with the altars that were inherited. Under oppression, we were all born under the impression due to our human connection as an Adam, right? But there was a second Adam that came to reposition us. And as the prototype for what that first Adam should have been, we can become, and we can step into dimensions of wealth and prosperity that we have never even fathomed in our own minds. Brother, say something to the people this morning.
Well, I missed the opening, what you shared, and and you just came back in just a few seconds ago. So, um, so I don't know exactly how what you were saying. However, that I've heard, talking about the altars of the inherited altars. That what has you talked about the first. You were mentioning about the first Adam, the second Adam, and what and how that is what where we're at today in terms of what we saw, what we read about the first Adam and what was given, as an inherited altar, the things that was there. And so when you're talking about the altars, and so I go back, of course, go in Genesis. It goes back to Genesis in the third chapter or the second chapter, what he inherited going into Yahweh formed him and put him in the garden, put him in the garden of Eden, what he inherited. So he inherited something that when you go back and look at Genesis chapter 1, he said, have rulership. He have rulership over all these things, the sea, the birds of the air, the birds of the air, the fish of the or the water, and he said you have have rulership. So that means, and as you read, you're going into what he lost, the inherited altar. He lost this. But when you look at going back into Genesis chapter 1, 26, what he said, have rulership over this. And meaning, so when I think about even in the mind of Yah, when he said have rulership, that meant that, there was others that were possessing and controlling the land and what they were doing, what was being done. So he said, so when I think of Yahweh, he said, hey, I'm take this man from a created man and form him, because he said, Yah said, the earth is mine and the fullness. And so therefore he said, now I want to get it back. I want to get it back. So I want you to have rulership. Something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened. So something happened. And because we need to understand even the economy, even at that time. I know some of us don't even sometimes conceive that there was a financial economy and the marketplace even then. We don't even understand that, that was even back then when he said have rulership, what was being done, the positioning of wealth and of gain. So we have this narrative that has been given to us down through the years. We only read what we were told. And so we only see it in a narrow way. We don't see it broadly of how things work, because we only see it religiously. Religiously controls us and binds us and put us in a box or in that cage where we can only see so much and know so much, because most of the time, so when we look at this, as you had stated, and I thought about that inherited altar. So what have we inherited, and what how have we lost that inheritance through that inherited altar that that we've had, so there's things that's happening and what have you. And so in this area of Genesis, I look at what was given and what was lost, and how the financial economy, even back then, having rulership, so because there were rulers. We understand that they was rulers, and they was having, do you think that they didn't have wars over who's going to occupy land, and what it was being done to have rulership of the earth? Yahweh said, now I'm going to show you. I'm going to create. I'm going to form. I'm getting what is mine back. Because the first Adam, you lost it. You lost it. So I've given you everything that you need. And so there was the diabolical mind that says that you know what? I'm gonna get this back. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight over all of this. So, but yeah. So those are my initial thoughts.
I love that. I love that. When you, I missed a couple of things because we are definitely having technical difficulties. You guys let me know that you are able to hear, though, regardless of what I mean.
Yes, sister. I can't hear nothing you're
That you're
saying.
able to hear.
Period. So when you
Okay.
talking, I
What about
can't
now?
hear. I can hear you now.
What, okay. What I said was how powerful what you said was when they were stepping into that place and they wanted to have something. Well, it was given to us to have. And, the difference between the thing that is diabolic and divine is the fact that we chase after, in the diabolic mindset, we're chasing after the things to have them. But from the divine perspective, we are receiving. When you notice what happened, there was nothing that he was chasing. There was nothing that Adam had to chase. It was all, it was there, but it was provided under the guise of the relationship. And so the Father wants to shift us back into gear, the original gear, which is the relationship first, and then all of the things after that. Those are after effects. Those are outcomes of the relationship. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have if you don't have the relationship, because it was inherently given. Talked a little bit about that. And it definitely was inherently given. But I wanted to say good morning to everybody. I don't know if you guys heard me, but I wanted you also to make sure that you say in the chat that you can hear my on my side. When it cuts out, that you're not hearing me. That you're not hearing me. So when they're not hearing me, well, when you stop hearing me, brother, just kind of pick up and flow. That way there are no holes in the conversation this morning. But we're going to get through here. We're going to get through here. And I know that you guys notice, I love the way the Father is taking us. The thumbnails are changing. Things are a little more graphic. The conversation is different. And we're talking about inherited altars this morning. There's a sub theme, and you guys know all of my sub themes anyway. So the Father has sanctioned the sub themes. But the sub theme has a joke, and the joke is on you. We're going to talk about Genesis chapter 12. I believe we'll get through 12 and 13. We may. This is going to be a part 2 for sure, because most of the things that we're sharing are not that we can really open up one day. We really can't open it up in a week. However, we're reading through Torah, and we want to make sure that you guys get a bite-size portion of something to step into. You're going to continue walking in this direction. You're going to continue opening up this revelation. And I can't give it to you all, but the Father is instructing us to share these points and these things. Altars. I want to read the opening, and you missed the audio of things, but I can kind of open those things, some of those things back up for you. But here is the opening. From the very beginning, Yah designed mankind to possess and steward abundance. However, the spirit of Mammon relentlessly campaigns for man's vote in an effort to overthrow and suppress his dominion, vying for the controlling of the narrative over man and manipulating the mind over matters. This is a deception which clouds humanity's awareness of inherent wealth, further leading to unnatural exchange. Godly hunger for more. And as you guys join us today, we're going to look into this. It made me think about, when you were talking about Adam, it made me think about the tower again. And the Father provided something that mankind lost, but then mankind without Yah decided that they were going to take possession or position something without the relationship. And this is where the confusion came in. This is where the confounding came in. This thing, both sides of this fence, because how we inherit is going to determine how we're going to relate to Yah, first of all, and then how we're going to relate to dominion, what the Father has given us. There are men in the earth that are wicked men, that are diabolic in nature, and they are making acquisition of things, but they're doing it from the perspective of this is an inherent right. They don't see it as not inherent at all. You know, with or without Yah, they don't see it non-inherent, but somehow we are missing the fact that the inheritance has been given to the sons, and we are not seizing or laying hold of. We look into Genesis chapter 12, we're going to begin to reset again. Remember, we were talking about the reset over the last couple of weeks, how the Father, there's this constant flow, this ebb and flow of this fall and then the reset. The Father sends a man, sends a woman, sends mankind, one of his chosen, to come and reset a situation, right? And it's such a powerful thing because it really shows and proves the heart of Yah is for us to really get this, to really walk out the expression of who he is in the earth and to really understand who we really are, so that all that we express is of him, by him, and for him. This is what the prototype son, the master, the Mashiach, say it or do it. I only do what I see him do, what I hear him say and speak. And that's a place to get to. It's a place to operate from. It's a place to rehearse, because the more we are in that place and in the proximity in the relationship, the easier it is for us to acquisition the things that were promised. And this is where we are right now. Something was promised, but you got to remember that when we talk about these inherited altars, something happened in Genesis already in the way of an inheritance, and that was Noah. The first altar that was built in this era of mankind was the altar that Noah built.
Kind of went out again, sis. So I was hearing.
Take course. Brother, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes. It was about
How long was I gone?
a few seconds I heard about the last part you said about Noah.
Okay. Noah was the first father that built an altar that Moshe was an inheritor of, you know. And when you look at this inheritance and you look at these altars and you look at what occurs, the sons of Yah have to Yah as a result of these promises, then you can begin to connect the dots. Moshe is a recipient of the inheritance of the altar that Noah built. When you look at people like you see Yaakov, right, and Esau, Yaakov became a recipient of the altar that was built by his forefathers, by Moshe. It's just an amazing thing to look at. It's an amazing thing to see. Now, we inherently have received some things familially, right? And so we have to decide from an earthly perspective the things that we will keep and the things that we will discard.
Mm-hmm. What we're going to receive and what we're going to discard. That's the last part.
Yes, and this thing is blowing my mind this morning because I am not understanding what is going on. You know, usually I have a million windows open and can still do this, but somehow this thing is not functioning properly at all this morning, at all. Brother, what were your thoughts about the intro, about the introduction that I read?
Well, you know, just thinking about a lot of things that um, the altar, you know, yeah, just a lot of things is just flowing through my mind. So let me just stop and pick one.
Yes, yeah, this thing brings up a lot. It brings up a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, uh, I was just thinking about Ahab and as
Yes, well.
Yezreel, yeah,
Mm-hmm,
and the building the altar, rebuilding the altar,
mm-hmm,
the altar of Baal with
mm-hmm.
the prophets and here is and I see as you were talking that here is now the rebuilding. Yahweh is building His altar, and so because when you look at it, the prophets they had their altars. They had their
They
altars,
did.
and many people were following and uh, to receive the inheritance of their altar
Yes.
of Baal. And so now here is the confrontation. You know, if Yah be Yah, follow Yah, and if Baal be Baal, follow him. So
Mm-hmm.
here, and kind of jumped up, my mind kind of jumped up to where we was at because we were in this time, in our where we're at of the altars, and Yah says, "I'm going to tear down. I'm going to reveal the altars of Baal, and going to tear
There you
down
go.
and rebuild my altar because
Yes.
we see there's so many altars, prophets of Baal that is build the altar of the diabolical system, and
Mm.
many people follow that inheritance to receive of the diabolical system. And then my mind jumped back to Genesis chapter 2. He says to Adam, he says, listen, don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil. Because if you eat from that, then you tasting there's some of my righteousness there. There's
Yes, it
that
is.
the way seems righteous, but then the end there is there's this diabolical evil thing that's there when you eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil, because now it's a mixture. So you can go on both ends of this. Here's the both end of the spectrum. And so when Adam, as I can go relate back to the beginning, when he was he inherited this what Yah has given. Here's my altar. Here's my place where my presence is at all the time. However, the diabolical agent came in and said, "Hey, you're not going to die. You're just going to become a god." And when you become a god, now then you can make the decision, because it goes back, say what I say, speak what I speak. So I want you to be who I am in the earth, to have dominion over all these diabolical forces that is in the earth, that's controlling everything. But if you say what I say, see what I see, hear what I hear, then you have this dominion. However, now, if not, what's going to take place? You're going to lose what I've given you. You understood the things as a created man. You understood that. So I'm giving you a command: don't eat from the knowledge of the tree of righteousness and evil, because there's something that's going to come, that's going to challenge you, that's going to divide. It want to divide what I've given you. It's going to look. I'm going to take y'all. I won't be in your presence. But when I'm not in your presence, then you're thinking on your own without me. So when you're thinking on your own, you become as I am without me. So now you're going to try to figure some things out and how to gain, because you understand where you came from. So you're going to add that. So man will add a little has some righteousness to it, because now you understand here is what righteousness does. And now here your mindset is a mixture. You got righteousness and the diabolical mindset. And so when that happens, now as you were going, what we inherited, from Noah, and so forth and so on, as we go even today, what have we inherited? And so now it is so broad and wide, because we're looking at the spirit of things that we don't see. The spiritual thing is important for us to get back to see what he see, hear what he hear, speak what he speak. Then we'll be able to see the inheritance, receive it back again. So it's just really something that how these altars are, because he said, I'm tearing down these altars. And when we see on the stage today the game and what have you that's going, we see that the altars are coming down. However, are we in the mind, the sons of Yah, and the sons for others, and for sons and daughters of Yah, are we seeing the plan spiritually to begin first to rebuild the altars of Yah on the altars of our heart?
That's because we've gone from a physical to a spiritual situation. I was just recalling how some years ago when I was doing some driving, and I would see so many different things. But one of the things that I saw was this sign that says the Egyptian kings are back. The coming of the kings. This was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it's just amazing to me how the adversary makes these announcements, these bold announcements. They even had a museum. And I think I was going through Ohio when I saw these things. Ohio was a huge, but to me, now that we're here, I'm identifying the fact of how announcements are made prior to the manifestation of things or the execution of things from the spiritual realm into the natural realm. And so we got to really be able to pay attention to the signs and the signals as they're given to us. You know, a lot of people are ignoring the signs and signals. And so many people don't understand that the distractions of the world are the things that are keeping you from realizing the revelation or the manifestation or the mystery of heaven. You're so distracted that you cannot identify with the road. It was so amazing to me. It was so exciting. We were driving and we hit this spot, brother. And when we hit this spot, we heard this chant or this, it was like this, oh my God, it was so wild. I can't even really describe. All we can describe it as a chant. But I don't even identify with what the chant was yet. I'm waiting on the Holy Spirit to really reveal to me what we were hearing, but we both heard it at the same time. And I intentionally did what the chant was. He literally repeated it. And that's how I knew he heard it. But we looked at each other like, did you hear it? Yeah, I heard it. Did you hear it? It was like we hit a spot and all these things in mind, right? I said, we hit a spot. We came through something. And we actually tuned in to a frequency and we both heard it at the same time. When I looked at him, I said, oh boy, I said, you done stepped in it now. I said, you done stepped in it now, buddy.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Because you know why I'm laughing. You stepped in it now because a lot of times people, as a people, you know, we don't really want to step all the way into some things because of how we've seen things happen in church. But when you step into that divine place, I promise you, it's like stepping on a landmine. You blew up now. It's too late. It's too late. Okay? We done stepped in it now. So I'm excited. And such a manifestation of his glory. And all of nature is revealing it. And when I say nature, I don't just mean the earth as in nature, but I mean every nature, even diabolic nature, is revealing now where we are and what time it is.
And you know, it's something that you said that about you, my little big brother.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, it's just something because I was sharing with someone on yesterday. Someone was saying they had a ringing in their right ear. And I, you know, so we was talking about that, you know, because, you know, the frequency, the sound and what y'all was revealing. I mean, just that y'all were traveling and y'all enter into another frequency. And as you were saying, Yah is revealing there is a frequency of righteousness. Let me put it to this way, where I'm going, where I'm feeling this in my spirit.
Yeah, come on with it. Come on with
you know, so there is a frequency of righteousness.
Yes.
And there is a frequency of the diabolical frequency of the system of the world. Yahweh is revealing because when righteousness come upon the frequency, that it's not a match, it's not one. So Yahweh said, oh, so we hear something, say, this is not right. So we're here a different frequency that we hear of the frequency of sound in our ear, not in our listening, but in our ear. So you hear something, sometimes you may not identify it, but the frequency of it, like you said, we entered in something now. So in other words, the righteousness of frequency was moving, and when it entered, it revealed itself what was there. Whatever that was, whatever the chant was, whatever was said, you entered into another sound, and yet Yah revealed it And we'll hear a sound, because every time sometimes I hear that, I hear sound, and I begin to match it with humming, what I hear in my ear. I begin to match it. And so when I begin to hum it, it begins to change areas where I might be. I might be in a supermarket. I might be out on the campus of the complex, and I begin to hear. I might be even in the community, the leasing office, and people there, and I hear a sound in my ear, that frequency, and I begin to match. And when I begin to hum, then Yahweh began to reveal that people. Sometimes people be looking at me like, "Oh, well, how you realize that something is going on?" Who we, sister?
Most
Okay.
of what you said, I didn't hear it because I was out of connection. But
Oh
I
my goodness.
know you was talking good, because when you got to this last part, go ahead, keep talking, because I'm listening. Don't
Oh my
restate it, because I
goodness.
didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. But but I tell you, since we're at a place, and I know that we are kind of, when you studied that, going into another, not a necessarily above a portal, transfer into another realm of dimension while in the present. But because when y'all rode into it, we step into it, we'll begin to hear the frequency of that dimension.
Yeah,
We don't see, but we pass through it, but we begin to hear, knowing that we are in another dimension by the sound
yeah,
or the frequency. You see, and so,
yeah,
so like I said, when I hear this frequency in my ear, mainly a lot of times in my right ear, I begin to hear, I begin to match it with the humming. I begin to hum with this frequency. So when I begin to do that, then the frequency that was in me began to have dominion, because that the frequency that I've entered to overcome me, I overcome it because I hear. And when I begin to hear this, I know I'm in a different place. And so when I know I'm in a different place, the diabolical evil forces that I've entered to can't touch this. Why? Because I begin to Yah reveal. He begin to hear. I begin to hear this sound in my ear. Oh my goodness. And so when we enter, because people do, oh, dimensions and what have you. Every area of dimension, things that we enter to, has its sound of frequency. It does. And as we enter, and if we're not hearing, a lot of people say, "Oh, I hear the ringing in my ear, da 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 da." Then they get to talking and this and that and the other, and I begin to hear what they're saying. Then confusion comes, and so it's a lot of mixture going on because people begin to yield to where they're at and don't understand what they've entered into. Are you hearing me, sis? Oh my goodness. So you sound
thank
it,
you.
it sound like yeah, see, that's how it was in the beginning. I couldn't hear a thing. Yes, I
This
don't
is
know.
crazy. So listen, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me right now? I know for certain
Yes, I
that things
can.
are shifting, because
Mm-hmm,
this is such an interruption. This is an interruption on a level I've never had before.
mm-hmm.
This interruption right here is an interruption y'all hearing. You're hearing, guys.
Yeah. Because now I can't hear you. Wow. So I can't hear sister. I can't hear her at this time. But perhaps you all are hearing. I can't hear her. Sometimes she can't hear me, and perhaps you're hearing the both of us. And I'm not sure. However,
Can you hear me, brother?
so I can hear you. I can hear you now. Oh my goodness.
Can you?
I can hear you now. Can
Okay,
you
this is what we
can you
gonna
hear
do.
me, sis?
Yeah, this is what we gonna
Okay.
do. Because
Uh-huh.
this is good. This is a shift in frequency, and I need y'all to go back to the beginning and listen to the beginning because we're gonna let it go right now, but we're coming back to this next week. This is where we are next week on Wednesday, on that Sabbath. Y'all know I'm trying not to call names. This is where we are next week on the Sabbath. Right here where we started. We're gonna redo this. We're gonna say it all over again. We're gonna walk all the way through this, and we're gonna break through this barrier. But go back and listen to the beginning because there's some of your being able to hear. You're gonna be shifted into another dimension because you're going to another level, another frequency level. But it's because now you're hungry for it because you recognize that this is a level of interruption we've never had. We ain't never had an interruption where we got to just get off the line, right? But we've said enough right now for you to shift gears. And shift is a big deal right now. Alignment, justifying. All of that's a big deal right now. It's been 3 or 4 days that has been a thing in a conversation with various people, seeing it just in the signs on the road, whatever it is. It's been a several days, at least 4 days. I promise you, we're going to share a lot more next week. But I want you to go read Genesis chapters 11, 12, and 13. You can read 11 because I want you to go back because I want you to pick up where Abraham and Terah come into the picture. And we're going to have a conversation about what happens forward and these inherited altars, why it's important for you to identify what you've inherited. And then we're going to deal with this whole position of prosperity and what the Father has called his sons into. I promise you, we've stepped into something and it's no going back now. It's no going back. It's only going forward.
All right. Well, you've gone out again, and yeah, okay. I don't know.
What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to play what I played at the top so brother can hear it. I'm going to play it again, going out. And I want you guys to understand you are blessed. Don't forget it. I also want you to know that the body is a we thing. It's not a me thing. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing. And so we're going to come together in this hour and really begin to embody what the Father has called us to embody. And Elder Vicky will be able to attest to this fact that there's some things that we prayed into over the years. And I promise you, Elder, we'll talk about it. It's some things that are coming into the light, coming into right now, that were the very things that he declared for us to speak over those 8 or 9 years that we were interceding concerning the manifestation of heaven on earth. And we're gonna talk about it, but this thing it's no going back now, brother. We're now.
Nope, we're going back. Yep,
we're here now.
We're not going back.
Listen,
yep.
We love you. Shalom, shalom. We're going, brother.
Shalom,
You have anything else you want to say on this point before we leave it? Because we're gonna come back to it. But I'm gonna definitely. Go ahead.
I just want to say right quickly before the frequency setting down that those who come on regularly, there has to be an alignment within us as we coming together, a threefold cord 3-4 alignment of us coming together that cannot be broken, that we have dominion over this because what's aligning in the atmosphere, because a lot of people don't realize all these planets are lining up. All this stuff in the constellation is lining up. And so we see that all this alignment, everything that's taking place in the atmosphere of darkness, it has its frequency because we have the planets of the alignment, what have you. That's an eclipse, and that has a certain frequency to it. It becomes overwhelming when people don't even understand. So we just want to be more aware and conscious, even within our bodies, of alignment, how we're eating, what we're hearing, what we're speaking, because this is war.
Oh, yes.
But it is. Okay.
This is war, and it's a fixed fight, and we already won. But you got to
Absolutely. Absolutely.
know that. We bid you shalom, shalom. We'll be back next week to have this conversation. And I'm sure there'll be a part 2 and a part 3 to this because this is big. This is a big conversation. But this day, even with the interruptions, you're going to be shifted because now you're hungry and you realize that there's something that desires you not to have when it was already commanded for you to have. So I'm going to play what we played from the beginning. By mere passage into existence, there is a conference, something inherently given to us. And we don't have to work for it or strive for it or beg for it. It intrinsically belongs to us. But this conference is a gift that's been entrusted to us, calling us to the embodiment, the stewardship, and the extension of the weight of its meaning. Wealth is not merely that which is held in the hand, but it's what's held in the mind. Wealth, in whatever form it takes, is not merely the accumulation of possessions, but it's the embodiment of the state of one's being. It's the posture of the mind, the expansiveness of the perception, and the alignment with abundance that transcends material ownership. The true wealth is not measured by what one holds in his hand, but by the consciousness from which one operates. This consciousness allows the ability to generate, to sustain, and to distribute resources effortlessly, knowing that provision is an extension of one's internal state, not a product of external acquisition. Altars are not merely an act of material construction, but they are in fact a point of spiritual activation. Poverty is a mental condition that manifests a physical position. It's not merely a condition of material lack, but the manifestation of a deeper rejection of abundance, both in a natural and a divine sense, because it arises when the human mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, based on its grooming or its bent, dismisses the reality of inherent provision and embraces scarcity as an inevitable state. Rather than operating from a place of divine sufficiency, it clings to striving, laboring under self-imposed limitations, and justifying the struggle as the only path to sustenance. In doing this, it forfeits an effortless flow of provision that comes from alignment with divine inheritance and the true nature of abundance. By mere passage into existence, there is a